Imagine your entire country crushed, your king hunted like an animal, and the last hope of your people is a fugitive hiding in a cave, armed with nothing but a broken axe and a dream. This is the moment Scotland was never supposed to survive, but did. Today we're diving into one of the most savage, unbelievable underdog stories in world history. The Battle of Bannockburn, a king crowned by murder, an empire marching with 20,000 men, and a tiny nation ready to risk everything for freedom. This isn't textbook history. This is Scotland's greatest fight, told the way it actually happened. Before we jump into today's story, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Follow me as we uncover the hidden battles, secrets, and legends of history that textbooks never tell you. The year is 1306. Scotland bleeds. For 2 decades, its soil has soaked in the price of defiance. English armies march through villages like a storm through wheat, castles burn, and noble families kneel to save their necks. The proud clans of the Highlands and Lowlands, once bound by honor, now turn blades on one another, each seeking survival in a kingdom without a crown. The great houses, hungry for advantage, play a dangerous game. Some pledge allegiance to Edward I of England, the hammer of the Scots, whose mailed fist has crushed every flicker of rebellion. Others cling to old loyalties, but loyalty itself has become a death sentence. Amid this ruin stands one man, Robert the Bruce, the Earl of Carrick, noble, ambitious, and torn between conscience and power. His bloodline gives him claim to Scotland's throne, yet his country lies in chains, and every oath he swears to England tastes like betrayal. Bruce moves carefully through the treacherous courts of both nations, smiling at his English overlords while whispering promises of freedom to his own. It is a perilous dance. The English king distrusts him, the Scottish nobles resent him, and even among his kin, whispers grow that Robert seeks not Scotland's salvation, but his own crown. Still, he cannot stand idle. The English administration, ruthless and efficient, taxes the land into starvation. The people mutter prayers for deliverance, but none dare rise. The flame that once burned in the days of rebellion flickers low, nearly extinguished. In this silence, Bruce begins to move, quietly, secretly. His vision is not of rebellion, but of rebirth. A Scotland unified under one banner, one king, one destiny. But unity will demand blood, and the first blood may have to come from his own countrymen. As winter yields to spring, the air thickens with tension. Spies move between castles, messages vanish, and alliances shift like sand. England's hold seems unbreakable, yet beneath the surface, something stirs. In the shattered heart of Scotland, a man once loyal to 2 crowns begins to dream of taking one for himself. And in the shadows of Stirling and Scone, the first threads of conspiracy tighten, the kind that can either forge a nation or destroy it entirely. Winter has scarcely broken when Robert the Bruce's fate begins to tighten around him like a noose. The kingdom he dreams of leading is still fractured, its nobility divided between loyalty to England and their own ambitions. And at the center of this tension stands John Comyn, Lord of Badenoch, powerful, cunning, and Bruce's greatest rival for Scotland's throne. Comyn is everything Bruce is not, deeply connected to the old nobility, the nephew of a former Scottish king, and the man the English trust to keep Scotland docile. For years, the two have danced around each other, allies when convenient, enemies when not. But now both men know the truth. Only one can rule. In February 1306, under the cold gray skies of Dumfries, Bruce rides south under the pretense of peace. England's spies are everywhere, and open war is suicide. He arranges a meeting with Comyn in the Greyfriars Church, sacred ground, a place where even murderers are safe under the church's peace. The air inside is thick with incense and suspicion. No chronicler records their words, but history remembers the silence that followed. Some say Bruce accused Comyn of betrayal, that he had revealed Bruce's plans to Edward I. Others whisper that Comyn mocked Bruce's claim to the throne. What is certain is that Bruce's temper, long held in check, finally broke. In one furious motion, his dagger flashed. The sound of metal against flesh echoed through the church as Comyn fell before the altar, blood spilling across the stones. Shock and silence followed. Holy ground had been defiled. The man who sought to free Scotland had slain a rival in God's house, an act that would brand him sinner, outlaw, and king all at once. Bruce stumbled into the sunlight, pale and shaking. "I doubt I have slain the man," he muttered to his companion, Sir Roger Kirkpatrick. The knight's reply was cold and resolute. "You doubt? Then I'll make sure." Moments later, Comyn lay dead. There is no turning back now. Within days, word spreads across Scotland. Robert the Bruce has killed John Comyn in a church. The church condemns him. The English call him traitor and murderer. But among the Scots weary of submission, something else takes hold. Awe. Bruce has done what none dared, severed all ties to England and cast his lot with destiny. On March 25th, 1306, at Scone Abbey, Bruce is crowned King of Scots. His coronation is hurried, improvised. The crown of Alexander placed upon his head by a handful of loyal lords. No great army surrounds him, only faith and defiance. Yet as the cheers rise, Bruce knows what he has unleashed. The blood on the altar has baptized his kingship. His enemies will not forgive. The Pope will excommunicate him. The English will come for him. And his fragile crown, won by murder, may drown him before it ever saves Scotland. The rebellion has begun, not with a victory, but with a sin that will define a king. The crown sits heavy on Robert the Bruce's brow. It was meant to unite a nation. Instead, it marks him for death. The blood spilled at Greyfriars has transformed him overnight from nobleman to outlaw king. Edward I of England, the Hammer of the Scots, receives word of Comyn's murder and Bruce's coronation with cold fury. His vengeance is swift. He commands that Bruce be hunted down like a beast and his lands seized for the crown. English garrisons flood the lowlands. Rewards are offered for Bruce's capture, dead or alive. Even within Scotland, the new king finds enemies at every turn. Many nobles, especially those loyal to the slain Comyn family, see Bruce not as a liberator, but a usurper drenched in sacrilege. They rally to England's banner, seeking revenge cloaked in righteousness. In the spring of 1306, Bruce gathers what men he can, a ragged host bound by loyalty rather than numbers. They march north only to meet ruin. At Methven, near Perth, Bruce's army is ambushed by English forces under Aymer de Valence, Comyn's brother-in-law. The battle is short and merciless. Hundreds of Scots are slain or captured. Bruce barely escapes with his life. In the days that follow, defeat becomes exile. His remaining followers scatter across the Highlands, hunted like wolves. His wife, Queen Elizabeth de Burgh, and his sisters are taken prisoner. His brother Neil Bruce is executed. Edward's vengeance reaches beyond the battlefield. His message is clear. There will be no Scotland and no Bruce to rule it. The fugitive king flees westward, over moor and mountain, across the jagged heart of his country. The chronicles say he hid in the Isles, moving from cave to cave, his every companion starving or slain. The winds of the North Sea carried his name like a curse, a traitor to the church, a murderer of nobles, a king without a kingdom. In those desolate months, surrounded by nothing but sea and despair, Bruce is forced to confront the enormity of his failure. He has lost everything: his army, his family, his crown. Even his faith wavers. Yet something inside him refuses to die. It is in this solitude that Robert the Bruce begins to change. The ambitious noble becomes a survivor. The fugitive begins to think like a soldier, not a lord. The dream of a united Scotland no longer rests on diplomacy or titles, but on endurance. As winter grips the Highlands, whispers spread through Scotland like embers on the wind. Some claim Bruce is dead, slain by the English or driven into madness. But others, the common folk who have tasted England's cruelty, refuse to believe it. In the taverns and glens they murmur, "The king lives." And in a cave by the sea, a weary man watches the tides break against the rocks, waiting, learning, planning. The hunted king is not gone. He is becoming something else. The Bruce who will emerge from exile will not be the man who fled Methven. He will return as something far more dangerous, a king forged in loss and sharpened by survival. Spring returns to Scotland, and with it, rumors. Some whisper that Robert the Bruce is dead, his bones buried beneath English soil. Others claim he walks the Highlands in disguise, biding his time. Both are wrong, and both are right. The man who once fled Methven has indeed died in spirit. What rises in his place is something colder, harder, and far more dangerous. The year is 1307. From the misty Western Isles, Robert the Bruce returns not as a noble in exile, but as a hunter reclaiming his land. Gone are the silk banners and mounted knights. His followers are few, his weapons crude. But Bruce has learned a truth that the English, for all their might, have not. That Scotland's strength lies in its wilderness and its people, not in castles or crowns. His campaign begins like a ghost story. English patrols vanish in the glens. Messengers never reach their garrisons. At night, watchfires burn on distant hills, signals to men who have learned to fight not as soldiers, but as shadows. Bruce's men strike fast and vanish faster, using forests and bogs as armor. His knowledge of the terrain turns every stream and cliff into an ally. He no longer fights for glory. He fights to bleed the invader inch by inch. Each victory, however small, breathes life back into the dying heart of Scotland. Clans that once doubted him begin to stir. The name Bruce spreads once more, not as a fugitive's shame, but as a call to arms. Then fortune turns. In May of 1307, Bruce meets Emir de Valence again, the same English commander who crushed him at Methven. This time, at Loudon Hill, Bruce is ready. He chooses the ground with precision, soft, narrow, flanked by deep ditches. When Valence's heavy cavalry charges, their momentum dies in the mire. The Scots hold their lines. Spears bristle like iron reeds, and English knights fall by the dozens. It is a reversal so complete that even the chroniclers cannot deny it. The hunted king has become the hunter. That victory does more than avenge Methven. It sends a message across the realm. Scotland, thought broken, has learned how to fight again. Word of Bruce's resurgence reaches England. Edward I, now old and sick, orders one final campaign to crush the rebellion himself. But before he can cross the border, the hammer of the Scots dies. His son, Edward II, inherits both the crown and a war he neither understands nor respects. Bruce seizes the moment. He moves like wildfire, striking across the highlands and lowlands, dismantling English strongholds one by one. Those who once mocked him now kneel before him. Those who betrayed him find their castles reduced to ash. His campaign is not of chivalry. It is vengeance disciplined by patience, politics tempered by survival. By 1313, Scotland's landscape has changed. The English still hold a few key fortresses, among them Stirling Castle, the strongest of all, but their control is fading. The people no longer bow to England's sheriffs. They look to Bruce, the king who rose from exile. The wolf has returned to his territory, lean, scarred, and unrelenting. Every hill, every glen, every village he reclaims is another piece of his soul restored. But Bruce knows that survival is not victory. To win Scotland's freedom, he must face England's might one last time, not in shadows or skirmishes, but in open battle. And that reckoning will come at a place where land and legend will meet. Bannockburn. Thanks for watching. Click subscribe and dive into this playlist next. More untold stories of empires, warriors, and history-changing battles are just a click away.